What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Honest Tattooer podcast. And I'm joined by Matt Truiano.
Hey, how you doing?
And our guest this week, Emma Dixon, also known as Dreadpool.
Hello, thank you for having me here today.
And for the people that don't know you, introduce yourself, tell them where you're from, what kind of tattoos you do, how long you've been tattooing, and where they can find you.
Okay, so I'm a tattoo artist from Perth, Australia, and I tend to do a lot of color realism, sometimes black and gray, a bit of neo-trad, and mixed styles.
Cool.
Well. Yeah, you can find me wherever I'm traveling at the moment, which at the moment is America, and usually in Perth in between.
Cool.
My travels.
And since you do so many different styles, what would you say is your favorite style to do?
One that contains more than one style.
Okay, cool.
How long have you been tattooing?
It's been about 13 years now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
How did you land? I mean, because I feel like when people start tattooing, did you start tattooing at a street shop?
Yeah, like it was walk-ins, but also word of mouth.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I feel like when you first start tattooing, you're doing what the client is kind of asking you to do, and you try to do your best to kind of give them something. And then how did you land on grabbing, I guess, all of these different tools, and then you're like, I like to mix all of these and make something out of them?
Well, because of the shop I came up in was very insistent on everyone learning as much as possible. They would really encourage us to practice all different styles. So I was kind of trained like that, and I would do what you said, and quite often mostly just cater to clients, not really put my own sort of input in too much in the beginning.
Yeah. And
then after a while, I sort of thought, what am I doing with all these styles? Like, why am I learning all of these? And then to be honest, I saw other people doing it and I thought, well, maybe I could find my own niche in that same sort of mixed style way,
How long would you say it was before you found that? Because I feel like I didn't find myself in tattooing even remotely until I was 7 years in. And that's when I started okay, I feel like I can do these kinds of tattoos and illustrate things in this way. And it was more of neo-traditional kind of stuff with too much purple and too much.
Too much purple, too much orange.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much purple, too much orange. Around that time, I was like, oh, I can do these things really cool. And I like the way they look. But I mean, it's totally different than what I tattoo now. But how did it come for you?
It's actually kind of a similar story to what you have, because I think I was about 7 years in when I had a bit of I don't know, I felt I needed to change something, and that's probably around when I started thinking about doing something else with my style, or I felt like I didn't really have much of a definitive style at that point in time. So I really wanted to work on that. And I felt like I just pushed shit around on a lot of different pages for a while until I found that. But I feel like I've only been solidly doing mixed style stuff for a couple of years now. But when I look back through my old work, I can actually see signs of it already.
Oh, that's cool.
Before I even really was consciously doing it in a way. Yeah. So
I remember being about 5 or 6 years in and thinking to myself, man, I want to be able to do the tattoos I want to do. And it started slowly, like you're seeing it right now, where you're saying it. But I remember asking permission from my clients, mid-tattoo, I wanted to do something other than the normal colors you would see in a typical tattoo. I'd be like, oh man, instead of this bright green, can we do an avocado? It's a little muted. I'll explain to them the difference between the colors. And they were like, yeah, whatever, man. I don't know, man. And then after a couple of those, whatever's, do what you want conversations, I was like, fuck, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And I'm going to ask anymore.
Yes.
And that's how you do it. You just do your own thing.
Yeah.
People will follow.
I think when people are getting tattooed, they have no idea what the fuck is going to happen at the end. They have no idea. So they just trust you that you're going to do the job. That's how I got a bunch of bad tattoos. Because I just went to people that I thought that they knew what they were doing, and I didn't know at that point in time. I thought if you were a tattoo artist and you worked at a shop, you were probably good at what you did. I just assumed that. I didn't know anything. Now, I use that. I was like, they don't know. I'm just going to give them something cool, something that I think is cool. And when I have somebody that asks a lot of questions, I try to just be like, you saw my work, right? There's something that I'm doing that you were gravitated to, just let me do that for you. It's funny because like the client that you had today, we were all talking about like, man, she was really micromanaging so much. But at the same time, she's like, I love your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
but do you?
But do you? But I love it. I love what you do, but do it how I want it.
No, you hit it right on the head though. Was it you or was it Heather that said it? Like, because it was a cover up, she was like traumatized from that past tattoo.
Yes. Cause I've had multiple clients that, you know, when it's a cover up, they're like very like, oh man, like feel like they're tiptoeing around, but they like really want to make sure that they don't make another mistake. And like, and I get that, you know,
it's like being the rebound boyfriend. Right?
Yeah.
The rebound tattoo, but it's much bigger. Yeah. It's on your chest and your face.
Yeah. I did like, a cover up of old Tanya a while back, and she was like, I don't want it to be too dark. And of course I put like solid black all over this fucking thing, you know?
It's a cover up.
Yeah, of course.
Black, yeah.
She told me after, she's like, oh my God, I went home, I cried, you know, because it was so dark. And now that it's healed, because I told her like, look, it's going to look really dark today, but after this settles down, it's not going to look like that super strong black. It's just going to look like a tattoo, man.
Yeah.
You know, and afterwards she sent me a photo of it not too long ago. And then she was like, oh, I love it. It looks so good. And I'm so happy that you like pushed me to just follow what you know it's going to make a good tattoo. And I think like sometimes it's really hard to convey that to your clients of like, hey, Jesus, take the wheel, baby. Yeah. You know, you did your research. You saw my work. You didn't make the same mistakes as choosing an artist like you did before. But now let me just do my thing. And I'm going to give you something that's cool and something that's going to look awesome, like the rest of my work that you liked. But it's hard to like push them over the edge in that point, you know?
Yeah.
It's also hard to being in the position of the client, having this expectation and then getting delivered something slightly different. Now you're just focusing on the change, or you're focusing on if there's like some little minute difference, and like that's what you're just zeroed in on.
Yeah.
As the tattooer, you have to be like, look, I know that you're focusing on this right now because like this is where all of your attention is going. Let it heal. Let it just kind of live with it for a little while. I guarantee you're not even going to look at this anymore. Yeah. Like the way you're looking at it now, and you're going to love it the way it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. Yeah. It just takes time, you know, and for people to just trust. That's like one of the hardest things, you know, like that's why like when you were talking about like, or was it Heather that was mentioning about doing like a cover up to then do a new sleeve on somebody else. I rather let me do that new sleeve, because after I do that for you, you're going to be so stoked and you're going to trust me easier when we do that cover up, you know? And I've always felt that, you know, like I was like, let me just do the new shit first.
Also gives him a little bit of time to get some laser, maybe. Yeah,
and that too. I had a guy, you know, and I've tattooed both full legs and both full arms, right? When he first came to me for a cover up, right? And I was like, I could do this as a cover up, but it would look so much better if we just do it on your clean arm over there. And then you can just do some laser on this. And he was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. And that's exactly what he did. You know, we did it on the opposite arm, and he's got a laser. And now we're doing his other arm finally. But he went like the cover up arm that was the initial cover up. He just continued to laser it. And then he got full sleeve, 2 full legs. And then now we're onto the other arm.
See, that's amazing. All because you just mentioned to him offhand, like it would look so good over here.
Yeah.
You know, now he's got even better results, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes people get stuck on the idea of like, well, I don't want to like, you know, like if they get like a tattoo here and they're not really that happy with it, they're like, put some cool stuff around it. And then I'm like, nah, man, if I put cool stuff around it, it's going to make that much more obvious how shitty this tattoo is, dude. It's like, the contrast of quality is going to be too great, and you're not going to be stoked on it. And then you're going to have less possibilities of what to do with that piece. Yeah. So like my client today was like, oh, what if we put this underneath? I've been thinking about covering it. I'm like, then don't put anything by it until you, don't put anything close to anything that you think you might cover up or might want to laser.
How do you feel that works with scars? You know, like you're saying, oh, if you put the cool tattoo next to a shitty one, it's just going to make the shitty one look even worse. But sometimes with scars, you can't tattoo over the scar. But if you put the tattoo kind of next to it and draw the eye away from it, that's kind of the theory. Like, oh, now you're focusing on the tattoo. You're not focusing on the scar.
So I have a big old scar on my stomach, and you would never know because it's fully tattooed over.
But not everybody could do that.
I mean, it depends on what kind of tattoo you decide to put over it. Because like I've seen really cool ways to like incorporate a scar into a design where it like makes visual sense. You know what I'm saying? So like, even if a scar is very textured, you know, if you do a tattoo that has texture in it and you figure out a way to include it, you know, it might not be necessarily like what the person wants, you know, who knows? Maybe you could do a cool Scarface tattoo over somebody's scar. Use that scar as a fucking scar on the face. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Each situation is going to be different, but I think like you can tattoo over scars. And I've seen like people do like sick, like biomechanical over like a gnarly burn scar. Yeah. And that texture of it just works, you know?
Oh, for sure.
So that's what I would say. And like, I didn't think that you could tattoo over scars until I've seen like some gnarly scars get fully tattooed over. And you might have to go over it twice even, but they'll take ink.
Who was the guy that had like half of his head missing and he had biomech tattooed on his head? I think Nick Baxter may have done it.
Damn, I don't know.
I remember seeing that a long time ago. It was gnarly looking because it looked like his head had like a big divot in it.
Oh shit.
But then the biomech just made that even more pronounced.
Yeah.
Man, I think Nick Baxter did that. Let me see.
That's wild. I just like, even with things like, you remember there was this guy, I saw this tattoo years ago where the guy had like, you know, like a chest cavity. Yeah. Like it just went in really far. And then he just got that like a geometric thing that made it look even more crazy. Yeah. But now it made it look cool. And it's like, whoa, that looks crazy. Like the special effect just came even more strong because his chest actually does go in. So there's ways to like, you know, if you have something on your body that you don't like and you want to change it up, like it's all about the approach, you know, and go into a really smart person that can see. And I feel like the times that I've done the best cover-ups, I knew I could cover up instantly. It was just like, I could just see it. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I never had to like really be like, break my head on how it's going to happen. Like I could just see it and be like, I feel confident that I can make that thing be gone and make it look cool. And it'll be a cool tattoo in the end.
It was on Dan Hank.
On Dan Hank. Oh shit. It's wild.
See like the back of his head?
Yeah.
Kind of like by the neck.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Whoa, that's gnarly. Honest Tattooer is brought to you by Ink Maps, the ultimate tattoo app for tattooers. Upload your image and instantly read dominant colors and get precise color matches for any tattoo ink brand. You can mix colors, see how they look on your client's skin tone, and even explore value isolation and stencil creation. Compare brands, dive into color properties, and achieve perfect color harmony every time. Import your palettes into Procreate and Photoshop, plus conveniently attach projects to clients for future reference. You can simplify your tattoo process with Ink Maps. Download now and revolutionize your artistry. Use coupon code HONESTTattooer for 50% off your first year subscription. Introducing the Tattooer Health Club, your secret weapon for longevity in the tattoo industry. If you felt the toll tattooing takes on your body, the pain, tingling, or numbness, you're not alone. Founder Jordan is a tattoo ergonomics and therapy expert with nearly a decade of experience. He's pulling back the curtain on our broken healthcare system to empower you with knowledge. So say goodbye to dismissive doctors and gain the confidence to care for yourself. Join the club, access Jordan's free book and customized warm-up routine. It's for serious tattooers, and don't miss the Ergonomic and Therapy Secrets Masterclass. It's time to prioritize your health and set yourself apart in this evolving industry. Get started today at the Tattooer Health Club and let your ink shine.
That's right. Use coupon code HONESTTattooer to get 10% off your warm-up routine or your self-paced masterclass.
Honest Tattooer is also brought to you by Tattoo Armor. Literally the best way to wrap your client at the end of the day. No mess, no adhesives, and they are super comfortable. You can try it for yourself by going to tattooarmorusa.com. They were able to hook us up with a 20% discount for our followers. Just use the code HONESTTattooer on your next order. So I've been to Australia twice in my life. Yep. I had a great time. Learned a lot of different things about Australia, about tattooing, and just about like opening up a shop. It's not like the Wild West here where anybody can just open up a fucking shop. Like it's completely different. Please share some of this. Like
what it's like to open a shop or something?
Yeah.
It's different in different cities and different states. They all have their own laws.
Yeah.
And because I'm from Western Australia, I don't know much about what's
The rest
going
of the
on
places.
over east. I just know that if I wanted to work over there, I'd have to go and get licenses in each state that requires it, which I think is, don't quote me on this, New South Wales and Queensland. Pretty sure. As for opening a shop though, it's not something I've really thought much about myself. So I can't say I've done a lot of research into it. I just know that where I live, there's usually only about one shop per suburb, which is kind of like what you guys have cities. Our suburbs are probably a bit smaller though. Okay? So they're kind of really spread out in Perth.
Okay.
Yeah. Except for like the city, there might be like a handful of them in there, or like some of the other suburbs close to the city. Some of them have like a few. I'm not really sure why. I don't really know too much of the ins and outs of that stuff.
So how far away is the closest tattoo shop to where you work?
Actually, it's really close. It's only a couple of streets away.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can't say no much about it, to be honest. But the suburb I work in is a quite upmarket suburb, so it's fairly close to the city.
Okay.
So it's not unusual for it to be pretty close to other ones there.
Right.
Yeah.
When I went to Sydney, I saw a lot of shops, but they weren't near like each other. You know, they were kind of like good amount spread out, you know, and like I heard like, you know, if somebody would open up down the street, they go check them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the old ways here.
Yeah. That you could say that might be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, that's the way things used to be here.
Yeah.
Back in like the 80s, early 90s, I guess. But
I feel like even like late 90s, early 2000s, kind of still sort of that
way.
Yeah.
Now it's just
at least there was talk about it.
Yeah. At least you could hear stories.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, shit, dude. There's like one in every freaking corner out here. Almost like the weed shops now.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Seriously.
What about here? Is there loads of tattoo shops here, or is it quite spread out? Or?
No, we're like one on top of the other over here.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Especially in the last 5-6 years, I feel like it just ramped up. After COVID, like there were a good amount of shops that closed.
Yep.
And then people just started the private studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the age of the private studio.
Definitely is. Actually, that's happening a little bit at home as well.
Yeah.
So we're having a little bit of a private studio moment as well. So that's good.
I hate it.
I think it's a good thing in Perth.
I guess it depends the dynamic of the private studio, you know, like I feel like there's still something really nice about having an open door to people that just like walk by and they're like, oh, tattoo shop, let me go in. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to like, you know, oh, you know, you have to contact me, you have to message me, and you have to do all these like things, you know, and like it's a very different client, I guess.
Yes, I was going to say it kind of vices out some of the older generation a bit who might not be so inclined to use Instagram or something. You know, they're just coming off the street, and some of them might be feeling that they can't get a tattoo anymore because hardly anywhere will even take their walk in, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I guess like anything, there's pros and cons to both, but I really do like, we were on a second floor for, you know, like 4 years.
Yeah.
And now, and I liked it, but now that we're here, I'm like so glad to have this environment, you know, and like it breaks up the vibe a little bit, you know, like when you like, it's more of like, you never know what you're going to get that day. It could be somebody cool, or it could be some fucking weirdo coming out the street, but no matter what. It's
like that guy yesterday who wanted to take a shit. That's all the reason why he came here.
Literally.
Really?
Oh my God, dude. Like he was just like, hey, yes, I'm looking for a tattoo. Where's your bathroom? It's like, yo, this guy. Oh man. So how long have you been traveling so far?
On this trip, it's been 11 months.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. When I leave Australia, I leave for a while.
I mean, that makes sense, right? That's a long plane ride.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
We flew from Perth to Denver, and it was 3 flights and 30 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That flight was long. When you went to
Australia, similar sort of time?
It was like, I think like 20, maybe like 26 hours total.
Yeah. Yeah. The extra 4 was getting from Perth to Sydney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
So it's about the same. Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a direct flight or is that not a thing?
Oh yeah.
There are?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So expensive enough to take the 3 flights.
What cities have you hit up? Have you been in America since the whole time for the last 11 months?
I did 3 months at the beginning of the year, and then went to South America for 6 months and just lived it up, and then came back.
Nice. We're in South America. I've never even been to South America, by the way.
Okay, so we went to Colombia, and then we traveled through Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia, and then we came here.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was all great.
Yeah.
Did you tattoo while you were out there?
A little bit. I did a guest spot in Lima, and I did some backyard tattoos in rural Ecuador for some friends.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. It was sterile, but it was, a bit slapped together.
Yeah, you just figure it out. When I was like early into tattooing, I would follow Tim Hendricks. He, had his like saltwater kind of blog, where he would like write about his places that he would go, and he tons of places where he just tattoo in a hotel room. You can see like you just sit up on the night table, just do a tat, fucking badass.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's the sickest thing ever.
So cool.
I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like I tattooed someone in a hotel room in like New Orleans, and they laid on like a coffee table because there was nothing else there. I'm like, dude, like just tattoo me on the bed. I'm like, no. I was like, you can lay on that. It's like, did it. Yeah.
How long did it take?
It was on his ribs actually. That sucked. And it was like maybe like a solid like 4 hours.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Ribs on a coffee table.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I was inspired by a similar thing when I was traveling in Guatemala on one of my previous trips. I met a tattoo artist from Germany who was doing exactly that, but he was like seeking hostels where he could tattoo on rooftops and shit like that. And like, just, I don't know, whatever fun thing grabbed his attention that day. And like, I didn't have my gear at the time, but he really wanted me to tattoo him. So he lent me some of his gear, and I tattooed a little avocado on him. And we had like a lucky dip tattoo night as well, where everyone could put their names in a bowl, and we'd just like, the artists would all like, there was 3 of us artists there, believe it or not. We'd all just like draw names out, and then like whoever got us, we could tattoo anything we wanted on them for free. And like, we're just borrowing this guy's stuff. He gave me like 1 pair of gloves and like just the bare essential. It's like large gloves. I'm trying to tattoo this guy on a coffee table as well. Did this tiny little thing on his ankle. It was like drunk people everywhere, but it was so fun though. But yeah, we kept it sterile.
When you first said lucky dip, I was like, that doesn't sound sterile at all.
So lucky dippers in like, we do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like the customer doesn't know what they're getting. So yeah.
That sounds like, man, that's like part of like the pirate days of tattooing. You know what I'm saying? Where you could just do wild shit like that. And it was like real chill, laid back. Like I watched like a few videos of dudes like tattooing when they were just like gloveless, ink all in their fingernails and shit like that. I'm like,
smoking a cigarette.
yeah, how nice to not know. Yeah. That's literally like, they didn't know any better. They're like, yeah, this is fine. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they're just like washing their hands a lot, because
yeah,
for me, that would have been enough to get me to wear gloves.
yeah. They're like, oh, I just got to just do this, wash under your fingernails. Good. I remember Adam Kaplan told me a story of like when he went and got a tattoo with one of his friends, and they went to the Moskowitz. And they were like, yeah, dude, they just had a bucket with like a mix of water, pine salt type of shit, dude. And they would just be like, wipe everybody with that rag, dude.
From the same bucket?
Yeah.
Nice.
No way.
Gross. It's so gross, dude.
Wow.
And this is like, I feel like this is like, early 80s, like, like, because he started tattooing was like around that time.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
That's so wild.
You ever see the video that was going around a little while ago? I don't know if it was somewhere like India, Pakistan, somewhere over there, where all these guys had their forearms tattooed. There's like 5 of them.
Oh, yeah.
They all got the same tattoo.
Yeah.
And the tattooer just wiped every single one of them down the row with the same rag.
Yeah, because they all had the foam reveal. They did a foam reveal. Everybody had foam, and he just wiped all of them down with the same rag.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit, dude. That's great. That's hilarious. They're like, look, this is going to be magical.
I hope they're still okay today.
They look like they were
The
all,
first guy was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first guy lived.
The last guy is struggling a bit.
Oh man, it's like the last guy in a gangbang. He's got the worst. Oh man, shit. So how's been tattooing in New York so far?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely a bit tougher going here than than everywhere else I've tattooed in America.
Get out of here, really?
For real, yeah. Everywhere I go, I normally get my books pretty full.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's a bit last minute, but it happens every time.
Yeah.
Here, it's been a bit tough, but I acknowledge I came at the worst time of year.
I think it came the worst time in history.
Maybe the worst time in history.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal for everybody.
Yeah, the economy's in the shitter at the moment, and everyone's really busy right now. And also, I didn't do a lot of marketing. I probably organized too many guest spots too close together, and my last one kept me real busy, and I didn't do enough advertising. So kind of on me, really. But
what advice could you give somebody that's trying to do? Because I mean, I traveled for about 9 months once, and that's on one of I think my first or second trip to Australia. Like I was on like a 9 month, like really long trip, and like the way that I did it, I booked at least like 3 months at a time of like where I was going to be, what convention I was
3 months ahead.
Yeah. I was booking 3 months ahead. Yeah. So I was like, I know that I was going to be at this convention at this time. I'd organize a guest spot like really near there. Then I'd take a week off. And I just, I had like, I'm going to be all the way to there. And when I got really close to like the end of that, then I booked the next 3.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was because you want to leave a little bit of room to like pivot, like, I was going to go there. It's like, nah, I want to go to this other place, but I got to do a lot of like sightseeing. Like one of the coolest things that I did was when I went to Rome, I realized Egypt was only like an hour and a half flight away from there. So I was like, we're going to go to Egypt.
Nice.
I was like, and it was like cheap as fuck to go to Egypt. It was blown away, especially from there. Cause it was such a short flight. It was like, we're going to go to Egypt. We spent like a week and then flew back.
Just right in the middle of your trip. Yeah.
Cause it was like, oh, it's right there. Let's fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was like great experience. So I feel like, how do you plan? How do you promote yourself? Like to, in a place you've never been to before?
That's a really good question. I feel like you already have the answer though, because pretty much with the way you said you do the 3 month thing and you leave time in between, that's pretty much a perfect plan, to be honest. But I don't do mine 3 months at a time. I tend to do it more like 1 month at a time in advance. And for me, that's probably a little bit late. Maybe I could be a bit more proactive, especially with places like New York. I probably should have. I was aware before I even started advertising that I needed to try harder here, but I had like 9 out of 11 days of work in my last guest spot, and I didn't leave any time for marketing. But yeah, I'd say 100% plan a little bit ahead, like plan the most important things. So your guest spots, or like if you're going somewhere where there's like an important site that you need to book ahead for, I guess book that as well, but try to avoid that as much as possible. Like if you're going, for example, Machu Picchu, like most people say you got to book ahead for that. I would say don't, like do some research, show up. And unless you're in the month of August, that's the only time you really have to book ahead. Otherwise, just show up and you'll get tickets, cool. So I'd say maybe just don't overbook yourself. If anything, only book the most important things. So your guest spot, your clients, your conventions, and then try and leave the rest as like loose as possible, maybe. But then again, it depends on the type of person you are, because some people can't handle like having so much freedom.
Not knowing.
Yeah. Some people really like to have everything organized. Whereas I kind of prefer the opposite when it comes to traveling. I just like to have the freedom, but sometimes if you have too much freedom, you might be overwhelmed by the choice at the time. So I think the way you do it is probably perfect.
Yeah, it was a man like the right balance of like a little bit of freedom, but a little bit of structure, and most of all, giving myself enough time to book the good or right Airbnbs or hotels or crash on my homie's couch. It was like a combination of all of those things. There were places like where I knew I wasn't going to make as much money as in a different city. So it's like, if I'm in a city where I know I can make a good amount of money, I would stay there a little bit longer, really make some money to be able to take it somewhere else where maybe the cost of living is lower, you know, and then I could spend maybe 3 weeks there, not even like feel the need to tattoo. I'm like, oh, I'm just here, just chilling. You know, like I'm enjoying myself, kind of like you going down to South America and you're like, here, I'm going to just do some tats for fun with like, you know, some people and stuff like that, you know, because it's like the pressure's not there. But then if you come to a place like New York, you're hoping that, you know, that's why I think it's important. Like if you come here, one, it's so competitive. Competition is crazy because there's so many shops, so many good artists. So it's going to be competitive. So you have to kind of promote yourself. But you can, if you make the best out of your time here, you can make a good amount of money and then go somewhere else and then chill out a little bit more. But it's definitely one of those cities where even the people that live here are like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. I feel like I did the opposite with this one because I had a couple of guest spots before here. I did really well at those. So when I came here, I was like, oh, well, if I don't have too many jobs, it's not the same pressure.
Yeah, it's not gonna be too much.
Yeah. And we're staying at a friend's place. So
yeah,
made it a little bit easier. Yeah.
I was just in Vegas and I was like paying like $160 for a hotel room. And like here, a friend of mine stayed at a hotel room here and it was like maybe like $240, you know, for the room. And the room was like the size of the bar. It was like the size of this bar. It was just like bed, boom, bathroom, done. That's it.
Yeah.
And like this hotel room in Vegas was like, dude, I can fit like 10 people in this place, dude, for $160. Like, this is great, you know?
That's crazy that you got a room that cheap in Vegas.
Yeah. I was like, either things are really bad here right now, but you know, it was like, oh man, this, it was a good room too. Like I could see the Sphere from my room and I was like on the 47th floor of the Palazzo.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good. Good stay.
Sure.
Recommend it.
What did you guys tattoo this week?
What did I tattoo this week? I'm getting like mental blanks.
It's a weird pretty lady today.
We're in between Christmas and New Year. It's always weird. Are you in? Are you not? Who's on vacation?
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think like, but I tattooed yesterday. I literally tattooed yesterday. I'm like, what did I tattoo yesterday? It's one of those things
it's
like
the koi fish.
Yes.
The color one.
That's right. Look at that. See how my mind is blank. Like, yeah, I tattooed yesterday for hours, dude. Just blanked out. So like, yes, yesterday's piece was really fun. So my client, Nick, and this is like his third, that was his either second or third session. And I wanted to keep going, but he was like, I'm good, bro. We can finish this another day. I'm fine. It's a landscape of kind of like a full like Japanese landscape with like a few pagodas, mountains and water. And there's a koi kind of peeking out of the water, looking at the landscape, you know, and cherry blossoms everywhere. And so far I had all the line work, some of the gray shading. So yesterday was like a color day. And I think like after somebody has like their line and black and gray day, the day that the color sets in, they're like, whoa, this is like, yeah, dude, it's going to feel like Packing Black the whole time, dude. Like, it's going to be just solid pushing colors in. And like, you know, after that sucks. That's like my least favorite day when I get tattooed, when it's just like nonstop color packing. I'm like, oh, this is brutal, man.
I think it's different now working with a rotary. I remember getting color packed in with coils, and at least the machines that I remember getting tattooed by, specifically when Joe Cat was tattooing me, I remember like his machine bogging down so much, it actually started to feel good. Like it wasn't like,
because they back off. They back off.
And like, it starts feeling like a massage almost.
Yeah. They back off.
But with rotaries that they don't have any give to it, that fucking sucks, man. It hurts.
Dude, one of the most painful tattoo days. Shout out to Seth Wood, bro. But he was using one of those shag built, those slider machines. What the fuck were they called? It's not, maybe it wasn't the one, but it was like, oh, the D20. Ever seen those things? Yeah. It's a shag built D20. It's one of the hardest hitting machines, dude. Like afterwards, you felt like somebody was just punching you nonstop because you just felt your muscle just felt just like it'd been torn up. I mean, that thing packs it like crazy, but it just hurt. It hurt so bad. And like, yeah, I agree. Like some of the machines with no give just like fucking hurt, dude. Yeah.
But every line was a single pass, right?
Oh, well, it was like, he lined it with...
Oh, no, that was the shading.
Yeah, that was the shading. Yeah, this is straight up color packing. But he lined it with like coils, you know, a Drexler. Do Do you remember this guy? It was like something Drexler. Forget his first name, but he's a builder. He was from New York actually. And he used to sell machines at the New York City Tattoo Convention.
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
They're good. They're good tattoo machines. It's crazy. I haven't used the coil in so long. And I feel like if I did, my hand would just be like, man, I can't. It hurts. What do you tattoo with?
I use a Cheyenne Soul Nova 4-stroke at the moment.
Nice.
I also have a couple of 3.5s as well. But yeah, definitely my favorite rotary at the moment. But I think I would like to try some new ones.
I use the 3.5 and a 5.0.
Oh, and a 5 for lining.
Yeah. And for some, if I'm packing with anything bigger than a 15, and I love to use like 23s and 27s. And if you use like a 5.0 with those, it feels like using an iMag.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Which is nice when you're like trying to pack solid with like a big mag and not like just, you know, not be like, oh, I want to like layer color. No, I just want this solid, you know, so much better to use a big long stroke on it.
Can I ask how well you think it lines like versus a coil?
I feel like coil is better, of course. It's always better. It's like the hit on the tip, you know, it just feels better, but it does pretty
close.
It's pretty close.
Getting there?
I feel like it's getting there.
Finally getting there.
Yeah. The one thing that it does sometimes is that it'll be a little spitty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The 5.0 sometimes gets a little spitty.
Okay.
But if you get over that, then it's fine. And I feel like it's not all the time. It depends on the cartridge.
Can you work off the tip with 5.0?
Yes.
You can?
Yes. Especially because you can set it, you know, at least with Cheyenne, where you can switch it from a hard hit or a softer hit. It will feel different, you know, completely different. And it feels more coil-like when it's like with a softer hit and you have the long stroke, because then you can kind of like do that, bury it in a little bit and then ride that little tip of it a little bit better, and it feels good.
Okay. I want to try that machine one day.
I know. It's not the same as like the other machines that don't have that little bit of a setting where you can like set it for that softer hit and you're like, oh man, this feels completely different, you know?
Well, I tried your 3.5 a while ago and I didn't like it.
Yeah,
but I do want to try the 5.
Yeah, the 5 just feels completely different for sure.
I can understand why you wouldn't like a 3.5. I feel like maybe a lot of neo-traditional artists wouldn't enjoy the 3.5. It's just a bit too soft.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like the stroke length and the softness are two different things though. But yes, I felt like that machine is just too soft for me. I didn't feel like it was working as fast as I wanted it to.
Yeah. I think you like it. I think you'd like mine, the 5.0, even for shading, you know, because the way you pack color, I feel like it would lend itself well for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Should give it a shot.
And what are you using right now?
So I line with Dan Kubin 46er.
Nice.
And then I've been coloring with the Critical Torque. Okay. Which is cool. I like that machine. I bought that machine to use as a liner and I didn't like it. It's okay. It's better than some of the other pen machines that I've tried lining with before, but nothing beats Cuban.
Yeah. Everyone sweats by those.
Yeah, I do miss using a Cuban. It was nice. I just don't want a power supply. I mean, you got the. That's right. You got the battery on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
that means I have to buy tubes.
Yeah.
And regular needles. It's like more stuff.
Yeah.
I want it.
I mean, I only throw 9 liners in there. That's it.
Oh, so just for the big boys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even do anything bigger than that.
When I got tattooed by Chris Garver, right? We talked a little bit about liners, you know? I feel like, you know, like the tattoo that I did today, I started something, it was like a lady head with like a skull and stuff like that. Like my fine liner on that was an 11, like a tight 11.
You're fine. So what was your
The big one was like a loose 9, like a 9 shader. And I was like, I like this. Okay. I was like, I like this. I was like, it feels good, you know? And I'm like, I think I'm going to stick to more like bigger groupings. And if you remember when we talked to Joe Cap, he said that about your tattoo. He's like, yeah, I was using like type 5s and type, you know, those
3s and 7s.
Yeah. And those have like more of like they break down more over the years than when you use just like a nice, bolder, stronger liner. So I feel like I got 2 OGs kind of just telling me the same thing in different ways, man.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start using a little bit of more of like bigger groupings, a little bit, you know, if I like bigger grouping, tighter needle, and then for the finer lines, and then just for the bigger stuff, just what I've been using, which is like big, looser fucking groupings.
You got to change your whole drawing style that way though.
Correct.
How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with that. I got to figure it out, because I think like it's all about, man, just trying to make things a little bit more open, a little bit more simplified. And I feel like it makes for better tattoos, man.
Yeah. I got a lot of good response from the conversation we had last week about me changing my style.
Yeah.
A lot of people privately DM me too.
Oh, that's
like,
sick.
go for it, dude. Or they were like, man, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, you got to reinvent it every now and then.
Yeah.
You got to look back at what you've been doing. I'm like, how can I get excited about something new?
What are you leaning into doing?
More simple stuff, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Basic, almost like, so the conversation we had was about me drawing like a kid's cartoon style megalodon. Yeah. And it was fun, man. It was just like big chunky lines, solid color. There was really nothing to it at all.
Yeah.
It's just easy to do. But you know what? A lot of people were like, of course, dude, you had a good time. You were just like goofing off, drawing with your kid. Like it wasn't work. That's why it was fun and easy. And like, oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
So once I start doing that for work, it's going to be the same thing.
And you're like, oh.
Are you talking about this with regards to like longevity of the tattoos, or just an easier process for you?
An easier process.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I spend too much time drawing the designs that I've been doing.
Oh, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
How do you come up with your designs?
Oh, I push it together in my iPad for hours at a time, and usually something comes out, you know?
It's funny because like Matt's been posting like how long like his drawings, you know, have been, you know, taking. And like just the other day, I went back to look at some of my like Ink Master drawings, and I saw that like my snake drawing, it took me like freaking like 5 hours. I was like, fuck, 5 fucking hours, dude. I was like, I had a shit to do. I had to start 2 more drawings, and I spent 5 hours on one, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. Have you checked how long like one of your drawings?
Yeah, I go back and check sometimes. Sometimes it's like 8 hours. Sometimes it's only like 2, and I've done full color and everything. It's wildly different for every tattoo for some reason. But
yeah.
For me, I feel like it's kind of, it's luck of the draw, really. I don't feel like I always have full control over like how quick this process is going to be. Sometimes it's just not happening fast enough, so you just throw more hours at it. But it always works out in the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've been thinking lately about even maybe I could be redrawing things a few more times. You know, like, you know, when you come up with a design and you're like, this is solid. You know, I'll stick with this. But deep down, you know, maybe I should just draw it again, like from scratch, because it always comes out better the second time or the third time. But that's not cutting down how many hours I'm drawing for. That's adding more drawing.
I was actually thinking about that today. In almost every other art profession, if you're doing work for a client, you're going to give them renditions. You're going to give them options. But us as tattooers, we're like, nah, I'm going to draw you one design and you're going to like it. And that's it.
That's it.
Time for options.
Yeah. But you know, like even, your client today, you know, like she asked for multiple revisions, you know, and you have to be like, all right, cool, but it's going to cost a little bit more money. They're like, what?
Because it's absurd. It's absurd. What do you mean more money?
I mean, like, for example, even when I do, so I do like, I do paid content creation videos for brands, you know, for clothes, right?
Yeah.
In my contract, I have it where they get up to 2 revisions. That's it. Anything past that, you got to pay more money, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So like, why would it be wrong for a tattooer to say, hey, I'm going to give you a drawing. You get 1 revision, 2 revisions. Anything more than that is going to cost you more money, because like she's putting in 8 hours into a freaking drawing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand both sides of it. Because I'm the same way. I don't want to be doing extra work that I don't have to, because you're going to draw something. Let's say you do 3 designs. 2 of those you're not going to tattoo.
Yeah.
So now you just spent however many hours drawing 2 designs are probably just going to get scrapped. If you're lucky, somebody else will get it tattooed, but probably not.
Most of the time I just feel too bad that it looks so similar to the other ones.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right?
well, I can't really recycle this, can I? Yeah. Or maybe I can, but it's going to require the same amount of time, work on it again in order to get it to far enough away from the other one and still a usable design. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys have the same thing over and over again, you know.
Well, that's why, like, you know, I used to go and draw everything for the client at home, but now I know it's going to happen with him right here sitting close by. You're going to get the vibe. You're going to
do
get
that for a consultation purpose?
So my consultations, I do my consultations just over the phone or via FaceTime. And it's really for me to agree on that I want to work with this person and I want to work with their idea. Anything else is going to happen when they show up that day and we say hello and we like get comfortable. And I was like, all right, let's get down to your design. And it's going to happen here. It takes longer, but I feel like it does make my day longer overall, but it saves me from either spending 8 hours at home to then have to show up that day with a drawing that I'm excited about. And then the client goes like, well, you know, I kind of changed my mind. And then we go back to what Matt said. It was like, whoa, I'm not going to overcharge him. You know, I'm not going to charge him for another drawing. And then I end up having to like redraw that whole thing differently the day off anyways.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good of a consultation sometimes you do. Like people just change their fucking mind.
Oh, fuck.
You know, they just change their mind, you know, like, so I'm like, you know what? We're going to hold each other's hands and get to that fucking point in time together. And then they usually feel more like attached to what they've, because they're as attached now as I am. Because like that attachment to the drawing when I'm at home, it's because I've been working out problems and things like that. But, you know, they just saw that and they're like, I don't like it. I want to change it. But if they do that with you, then they also get attached to the project because they're like, they just saw it come together.
Do you think it might come from the fact that they're watching you work on it as well, that they have more awareness of how much work goes into it? Do you think maybe that's
absolutely
a factor, or?
Yeah, I think so. And and to them, I think it adds value.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It adds value to their experience. It adds value to like just how it came together, and they feel like their input was even more taken into the whole piece. You know?
Do you let them know during the consultation, like this is what it's going to be? You're going to come sit here, and it might be a couple of hours before we actually start tattooing.
Yes. Yeah, I let them know in the consultation.
Oh, you would have to, right?
Yeah, I let them know. Yeah,
upset people, right?
Yeah, I let them know what the process is going to be like. I'm like, just so you know, this is what's going to happen. You know, like especially for the big projects, I'm like, you're probably going to be there all day. You might leave with an outline that day, you know, because we're going to spend a lot of time just working on either the drawing plus some freehand plus this, you know, like depending on what kind of tattoo I'm doing. At the end of the day, that's to me the one part that after that shit's on there, man, and we lined it, we ain't changing it, man. We got to stick to this plan until we're done, you know? So like, I feel like that's why it's worth spending that extra day with your client on like that figure it out mode. You know?
So you saying that just made me think of the tattoo I was doing Tuesday, the back piece, the St. Michael back piece. So you were saying draw some flames in there, and I spent a good maybe half hour trying to figure out how to add these flames to a back piece that I have like 75% done. Right. Oh. And I started drawing it in. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a really good idea. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, it's just, I'm too committed to
I'm in too deep.
Yeah. I have to stick with the plan now. Like, I wish that I thought of that, or I wish that you told me that way in the beginning and I would have designed it better. But eventually, like, I spent maybe half hour trying to draw these flames into this back piece. I was like, fuck this, dude. And I just went back.
Yeah. You went back to, you know, to the same plan.
Yeah. Because you can't just throw a curveball in there and hope for the best. Like, you had to have done it way in the beginning.
Right. And part of that, and this, one of the things that I think it's great about doing the way that I approach things is that I have a bunch of really good artists around me to just be like, hey dude, what do you think about this? The way that I'm going in this. And then like that interaction of me being like, oh dude, what about this? And you're like, yes, that's good. You know, but like at home, you're just you doing this. You got Sammy's. You're like, yo, pay my, like, you know, pay me some attention, you know? So you're like in a different mode than when you're like, I feel like here I get into like that. I'm in the mode here. Yeah. And it's like when I'm home, I want to fucking relax. I want to just disconnect. I want to pay attention to what I got at home. And then as soon as I cross in, it's just like, all right, we're fucking in here.
I have one more question about that. Do you think designing the tattoo in front of the client kind of makes you hustle a bit more than if you were like sitting at home with a beer and like having a little scribble, you know, like maybe,
it does.
Maybe sometimes it takes me 8 hours because I'm like getting distracted and
that's me 100% you know? For sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. It puts you on like, you gotta get on it.
Yeah. And how do you deal with that pressure?
I don't know. I feel like I don't really get that. I think that's why I was good for an ink master kind of shit. Cause it's like that pressure doesn't really like, don't feel too crazy, you know? Like it's there, but it doesn't like really like give me the, oh my God, this is annoying. This person is like waiting for me, you know? Like you have to like.
Yeah. See, I struggle with that. That's like, even the night before I'm a bit like, oh man, I feel like I'm so unprofessional because I'm so disorganized. I haven't drawn my picture yet. Normally I've done it a few days in advance and stuff, but that's still like 12 hours between now and the appointment. So if everything goes to shit, I've got 12 hours to fix it. You know?
When you design a few days in advance, do you let the client see the design a few days in advance?
No, because the worst thing for that is, of course, they show their friends and their family, and suddenly all their friends and their family's opinion is being thrown into the mix, and they're starting to ask you to change things.
Exactly.
And you know that it's not authentically what they want. They've got someone in their ear telling them what they want.
Yeah.
And
you know, it's a good way to get around that.
What?
If they are asking to see a design in advance, you tell them, I'll send you the design. You're going to pay for the entire tattoo up front right now. And that's the design you're getting.
Oh shit. That's really good. That sounds so good. Like, you got to pay for it up front and I'll send you a design. And that's the design.
That's it. That's if you want any changes, we're going to start all over again.
Oh, that's good. They're like, no, it's fine.
It's kind of like that website that we were looking at the other day where you buy the designs. The guy was like doing like a $40,000 back piece. Oh, buy this picture. It'll give you the tattoo appointment for this design.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yes.
Is that how they do that?
So we saw this website the other day, and it was like a bunch of artists on there, and there were all these designs, and then one was like $40K. And we were like, $40,000. Like, what the fuck?
Is that a bodysuit or no?
So it's like, it's a huge back piece, like color realism, wild. Basically, you pay for the tattoo up front.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's it. And I'm like, that's crazy.
So you go get a loan from the bank? Yes. Tattoo artist?
I guess. I mean, like, I hope you got a big budget on that credit card. You just drop 40K, you know, like ready to go. But I mean, it's a bunch of rich fucking people out here in the world, man. That 40K ain't shit to them. That's one thing like that I've learned, that it's like, man, this is going to sound fucked up, but not everybody's meant to go shop at Hermes, man. Not everybody's meant to go shop at Gucci or Louis Vuitton. That ain't for everybody. Not everybody owns a fucking Rothko. Not everybody owns a Picasso in their house. Very special people do. Either you want to create art that's available for everyone, or you're like, no, I am trying to appeal to this very high-end collector that's going to afford my art. That is your choice as an artist. Doesn't make it wrong. Money's not evil, guys. It's not wrong to charge a lot of money. That's like when people say things like, oh, that person's overcharging. I'm like, what do you mean? If their clients leave happy with however much they paid for them, then they're charging just the right amount, dude.
Yeah.
There is no, money's not evil. If you're a tattooer and you're charging a lot of money, fucking kudos to you, man. You figure out a way to put that much value into your work.
Just like the art is subjective, the amount of money is subjective too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people may look at something and think it's, how could anybody pay that much for something? And somebody will be like, yeah, I fucking love it, dude. That's why I paid for it.
Some people think that straight up about tattoos in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
How could you do that to your body?
How could you pay for that? And it's like, yeah, but you could go and buy a $2,000 handbag, you know?
Yes.
What's the difference?
That's my line is always now. I was like, oh man, you charge how much? And I'm like, how much did you pay for your iPhone? You're going to buy another one? How long?
What about your car?
Exactly.
How much was that? That's only going to last you 5-10 years, right? If
yes.
you buy a new one.
I'm like, shit, your phone's almost $2,000. You're going to buy another one in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, yo, if I'm charging you $2,000 for a tat, you're getting a fucking sweet deal, bro.
Fuck yeah.
So, you know, use that one on your guys. You know, that's a good one.
It is a good one. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Man, it's been a wonderful year. I feel blessed to have a great group of friends, a great group of people that have been supporting not only the podcast, but the tattoo shop. And we've had so many great guest artists. Great to have you here and hope you come back.
Thank you.
And great friends like Matt, man, that I've been able to do really cool things with. And just, I'm stoked to see what 2024 has in store for us.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I think it'll be better than 2023.
Fuck yeah. That's all we're trying to do here. Anything else? Any closing thoughts?
I just want to say I love the studio. It's so beautiful, the way you've designed it, the way you've decorated it, the way you've got that like old school touch of like stuff all over the walls, but like it's still like up to date and like it still feels modern, you know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
Like,
I appreciate that.
It feels like a really homey sort of place, and I love all the games you got downstairs and like how like, I don't know, it just feels so cozy and nice and very welcoming, and I love the colors and just, yeah, everything you've done with it. It's so good. And yeah, thanks for making me feel so welcome and having me here at your studio and on your podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you're an artist and you want to come visit New York City or you want to be on the podcast, send us a message and maybe you can come and experience New York and be on Honest Tattoo as well. So
that would be great. I want to give a thank you to all of the people who supported the show over the last year. We started this a year ago.
Yeah.
And we pretty much started the Patreon very shortly after we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And we've had a bunch of people come, go, lots of new people, and some people stayed for the entire year. You know, some people leave and some people come back, but I mean, we're super grateful for everybody that's on there. This week, we are thanking specifically Brooke RC. She's our newest patron to jump on board. So Brooke, thank you very much. We appreciate everything that you're doing and everything that everybody else is contributing. It's super, super helpful. If you want to be a supporter of the show, head over to patreon.com/honesttattooer and select the tier that's appropriate for you. Each week, we try to put a little after show in, and I don't know if we're going to do an after show this week. I think we might just leave 2023 as a thank you very much. Thank you for supporting us. Maybe we'll do something special for the Patreon, but I think it might just be, I think that might be it.
Yeah, be a sign off.
Yeah.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you guys very much.
Peace.
Bye.